So game number 1 here of a best of 3. It is the quarterfinals of Go for SC2 Thursday. And we have got a Zerg versus a Protoss. All of tonight I've cast nothing but CVP. It's like the brackets, there is no Terrans. There may not actually be a Terran in today's tournament, which is really, really sad. Anyway, let's introduce these two. Top right of Way Station, we have got the purple Protoss, Adonminus. And his opponent, to the lower left, the pink Zerg player, Skinky. Skinky. It's really hard to say because when I first glanced at it, I saw Stinky. And once you've seen that, that's what you want to say, and my brain is just sitting there and I've got to get it out. I've got to not do that. I'm having a real thing with saying words today, which is kind of bad for a caster, but I think it's because it's so warm outside. In England, we are currently experiencing summer. It will last an indefined amount of time, from a very little to a month or two, of where it's actually warm, like plus 20 degrees Celsius. And that's actually pretty warm when you don't have aircon and stuff like that, which people in the continent of America obviously have the joy of. Anyway, forge first. Adonminus is going for Cannon Rush. And I don't know why I said Cannon Rush because it is not Todd. Although, hopefully I will be having some Todd games soon. Not tonight, but in some show matches I'm planning. Quick little look now. Skinky is just coming in. He's saying, okay, well, you've got to forge first. I need to be a bit careful. Pulls down a drone. Pulls down a second drone. Just in case there's a pylon made, he can deal with that. He's trying to just zone out this naughty little probe. Make sure nothing bad happens. Was a pull first as well, so obviously things can get made. And Adonminus is just going to get denied any kind of cannoning, and is just going to instead opt for the Nexus coming straight down after that forge. So fairly normal expansion. Timing's not ideal on the Protoss side, but likewise, Skinsky, he wasn't in actually the best spot overall economically either. He was being a lot more safe by getting down that pool before the hatch. There are some advantages to pool then hatch, and probably the biggest one is the safety, obviously, but also you get this queen out slightly sooner, so you are able to produce a few more lava fractionally quicker, but less overall by like 1 or something. So there's pros and cons to both builds. There's basically advantages and disadvantages to everything at this level of play, but so far worked out quite well. If the Zerg hadn't have gone for that pool first and went hatch first, it would have been very likely that a cannon rush would have been played, and it could have caused some problems. Gateway finishes up now. We should be seeing a Cybercore. There we go, all looking good. Meanwhile, big drone transfer coming down to Skinky's natural base. So everything just as it should be. Nothing too much. This is a really cool thing, by the way. I don't think I've inspected this in one of my casts before. Anyone who frequently tunes into my cast knows I get a little bit obsessed with strange things on the map, and I do like this. Some kind of electrical generator thingy. I don't quite know what it's doing, but it makes sparks, and that attracts me. It's like Tesla coils. They were like my favorite thing in science at school. I don't know about anyone else, I love those things. There's also a really cool thing where there's a video online of a guy in like a chainmail suit with 4 Tesla coils around him, dancing with them, and so the lightning like arcs off this chainmail suit thingy, and it acts as, well, the chainmail acts as a Faraday's cage, and then you don't actually get it electrocuted. Pretty cool, although I don't think I'd ever try it. Anyway, Adonminus, he's playing the same build that he did in the previous match of his that we cast up against Senin. He went for, obviously, the Forge first into the Nexus, followed up by the Stargate. The difference is, when he did this in the previous match, the Cannon Rush did go down and was able to deny that the natural base. Obviously, Skinsky hasn't had that problem, and so he's got a bit more of a better economic spot, but he's not in a position to scout this Stargate anytime soon. This is the closest Overlord, and as you can see, it's quite a long way away. Phoenix going to be coming out. They're probably going to go for the Overlords, try and force the supply block, deal with a guaranteed 100 minerals of damage. Actually, one is going to come in here, and we'll scout it, so that's quite good. Actually scouted it a lot of time earlier, coming back now, just to see what's coming out. We'll see the Phoenix is going to die. pays for his trouble. But this means that spore crawlers can be produced, the queens can go hug up to them, overlords can get pulled back, making sure that they're nice and close to any spores so that the phoenix are able to just work their magic on them. Meanwhile, lair coming down and things are really taking a nice gradual cruise into the mid game. Assuming Adonminus is playing the exact same build that we saw last time, we should be seeing him add in that robotics facility, add in that robotics bait really early and go for a Voidway Colossus based army nice and quick. What would be quite cool to see is him actually add in from this robotics facility a very quick War Prism. And the reason that would be quite cool is because he could then take the island expansion, one of the unique features of this map. Haven't seen island expansions for a long time, but it's actually a really nice way to go, because assuming it's a roach based army from Skinky, which it looks quite probable to be with the single Evo chamber and the lair being relatively early, there's no quick and easy way to deal with this island, and it's certainly going to be a lot safer taking that than a third base exposed at the frontier. Phoenix coming through now. They are going to rack up one drone kill, so not really paying for themselves yet with just that one bit of damage, but so far they haven't cost anything either. None of them have gone down, so no resources lost over on Adonminus' side. War Prism is coming down. My wish could be granted right now. Adonminus, take a probe and put it on the island. You know you want to do it. You know you do. A couple of transferring drones getting caught here. Quite unfortunate day to transfer. No one ever wants that. Imagine if you got transferred from your job and halfway across to your new workplace you just got picked up by a phoenix and proceeded to get zapped by lasers. It'd make me pretty sad. War Prism is about to come out. War Prism, do it. Oh, it's going to be dropping. Oh no, it's getting the probe first. It's getting the probe. It did it. It did it. Drop the probe. Drop the probe. Do it. Do it. Oh yeah. That's so good. That's the way we like it, Adonminus. You take that island expansion, which there isn't an overlord at. Zerg players, I know you're watching. Make sure you put an overlord at island expansions, because when you don't, that happens. And you're suddenly sitting there scratching your head being like, how is this guy supporting 10 gates and also Colossus and Voidway production off of just 2 bases? And then it dawns on you like, oh, he must have had a third of the island for a while. And you watch the replay back and he had it for 10 minutes. And you're sitting there like, how didn't I know? Anyway, Queen goes down. That's a nice pick off. It's out of range of that spore caller, so great snipe off actually getting that. Gonna get a second Queen as well. Okay, this is absolutely fantastic. The Hydralisk could have also been killed. He was spared. Adonminus already feeling like he did enough there, and instead just decides, no, I've done enough damage. Let's be fair now. Still though, island expansion getting taken. Infestation bit is also just now completed. This could be. Oh, nice force field. As the Warfish comes in here. Just pick up of that sentry. Queen in the main base is going to take a little bit of damage. Obviously, some units were able to get up into the main to try and defend this on their way through, but this does expose up the natural. Another Queen could die. It's been pulled out of position, but it looks like Adonminus not wanting to risk that quite yet. Drone count up at 63. The drop in the main has been successfully cleaned up. The War Prism able to escape away to safety to come back another day if required. Overall, resources lost. Very efficient trades coming on Adonminus' side, although the Phoenix are going to get a lot less efficient now that we see a lot of Hydralisks coming to the field. Unfortunately for those Hydras though, they're going to have to contend against some Colossi. But this is actually a really great opportunity to look at the downfalls of this build from Adonminus, because it looks really scary once we get to kind of like 14 minutes or so. And the downside is now. He has 2 Colossi, 2 Voidways, and 6 Phoenix, and a Zealot. That would not withstand a frontal assault from this army. This wall would get knocked down, the Colossus would run away, absolutely petrified, and we'd probably see Skinky win the game. The reason he can't do that though is because the pressure these Phoenix are putting on. Their harassment is keeping all of these Hydralisks back at home defensively, buying Adonminus the time that he needs in order to build up this late game force. He's also adding in the Twilight Council, going to be continuing on these upgrades. He's already got +1. But the army composition from Adonminus is petrifying late game. It is incredibly strong. The Colossus, the Voidway, they just deal with everything there could be. And there isn't really an answer yet to the Colossi. There's no... Okay, there we go. Viper's coming through. This is a much better response, in my opinion, to what we saw last game, where there was obviously the Corruptors. The Corruptors are great in theory, but the Void Rays just destroy them incredibly efficiently. And due to that, the Vipers actually have a better shot, because if they are able to get off the Abducts, they pull the Void Rays, they pull the Colossus into this ground army, and are able to snipe them down in small little chunks. A head-on engagement will always go in the Protoss player's side with this kind of army composition. The army value is just massively favouring them in terms of supplies, so they will always trade better. But if the Vipers get the good spellcasts off, that can make a big difference. The key is patience. It's also worth noting that, unfortunately for Skinky, he doesn't yet know that the island base has been taken. That's something he really should have identified by now, because he may know just because of the amount of production coming through, but he can't be absolutely sure. So he's actually down in the drone count at the moment, having lost 26 workers to these Phoenix overall this game. That's actually a lot of damage being done, and note that the drones are not being replaced. And because the drones are being replaced, it causes a lot more problems, because obviously that income isn't coming back. It's not getting reproduced, and so this army moving out now is very scary. While the drone count is low and obviously the army supply is better on the Zerg side, the army value is so much higher for the Protoss player. These Vipers really do have their work cut out. They've got to do something beautiful. Both armies coming through, and it's actually a good engagement position if the Abducts are sweet, and they are. Down go those Colossi very, very quickly. One still remains. Stalkers coming from all angles. The final Colossus will fall. Hydralisk is going to trade very nicely here. The Phoenix attempting to lift a couple of those Hydras up. The Stalkers, though, dishing out a lot of damage. Both sides do have +2. The Hydra's going to win the fight, though, but only just. Resources lost bang on equal. So that's from a very efficient early game from Adonminus. He does a lot more there, losing those Colossi. The Hydra's getting forced back, more reinforcing, blinking to the max. There's not much Zerg remaining. This fight getting cleaned up now by Adonminus. He only loses one more Stalker from that, so once again swings those resources lost into his favour. He's got that third base up, he's still got more workers, but the fourth is up for Skinky, and if he keeps that fourth, actually that's when he's going to be starting to sit in a spot where he can level out the economic position. And this is going to take a hell of a long time to rebuild the army that Adonminus had, because he's only sitting on 1 Colossus per production cycle, 1 Void Ray per production cycle. Can't quickly remax, whereas obviously on the Zerg side we can see a quick remax. We've got a lot of units being pumped, as well as a few more drones, and that's because more workers have been killed off. That's going to be hurting, that's going to be a problem. The Vipers, though, they're still up, they're still sitting here quite nicely. Only 2 of the Vipers were killed last time, so a few have been replaced. Meanwhile, though, Templar Archives coming down. Adonminus needs this for the feedbacks, not for the storms. Taking down these Vipers is the critical piece of the puzzle. In comes another engagement, though. We're going to see the Vipers go for the Abduct, grab that Colossus nice and quickly. A Void Ray is very exposed to the front there. The Colossus is going to fall. The Stalkers trying to engage one up. Double Time Warp coming through. The Mothership Core just sneaking away. Some good grinding clouds from the Vipers continue to nullify the effectiveness of this Protoss force. Forward from those Hydras. They're plowing through this front, but probably won't be able to break it just due to not having a high number of units there. They get the Cyber Core, though. That's a bit of a problem. No more Stalkers, no more Sentries coming through. But actually this engagement position for Adonminus is really, really bad for him. He doesn't have a very good engagement. He's losing a lot of units. The Stalker's being forced to back away. The Hydra count's still fairly high, and while there are some more units coming through, specifically this Colossus, to shut this down, Adonminus only just held this. His fourth is still intact, though. Hasn't been able to put any probes through it yet, but he still keeps it alive, still keeps one of those Colossi up, but needs to be looking at how he's going to be trading this late game. Adding a couple of armies, they're going to certainly help up against this ground army, add a bit more beef to the front lines. But the Vipers still are the big problem. The Ducks are consistently pulling those Colossi, relentlessly taking out those big power units that Adonminus is reliant on to trade nicely. Still waiting to see what's going to go through. Skinky takes a little look, loses a Ling to take that, but he still is unaware of this fourth base. That causes him a problem. He doesn't even know about this island expansion, but frankly, he must have it in the back of his head. It's there. There's no other way a Protoss player with 20 minutes in this game could have as much stuff on the field. Quick little move forward now. Creep spread does leave some to be desired. Probably the biggest area of improvement I could see from Skinky at the moment. He hasn't really got that much across joining these bases, but again, minor point. Storm also on its way through some additional splash damage in case the Colossi are focused down by those Viper pools quickly. Adonminus sitting at 65 probes. Skinky sitting at 65 drones, so they're both pretty level there for now. Warpussy gets taken down, good use of Abduct yet again, and this is just some really good control from the Zerg side and these Vipers. The Abducts really are allowing this game to go the way it is. Resources lost, favouring Skinky, which is something that a Protoss player never wants to see. Now we go. Waiting for those feedbacks to try and hit one. High Templar goes down, the Vipers attempting to move forward, but some good feedback, grab them. That keeps the Colossus safe. The Archon's to the front trying to dish out the damage. The Colossus at the back is all on his own. Not much that's going to be able to be achieved by that. The Stalker line getting crushed. The fourth place definitely now seen. Down goes that Colossus on the high ground, and nothing really stands in the way of this 130 hardly supply of the Zerg to take out this fourth. A lot of probes now dying. Adonminus is in a hell of a lot of trouble. And Adonminus is just working his way through. Skinky's working his way through Adonminus. Takes down that fourth base. The Stalkers, they're blinking like mad, doing everything they possibly can, trying to just nudge this fight into Adonminus' favour so he can hang on a bit longer. But it's not looking good for him. The Zerg barreling down, up by 100 army supplies. That is massive. Up in the now working down the remaining Stalkers, crumbling to their death. And this is looking to be a very, very good game for Skinky. He's beaten that force. The Viper pools were just sensational. And unfortunately, for Adonminus, it looks like game one is not going to be going in his favour. GG is called, and Skinky takes game one of this best of 3.